Welcome to the buy list. This is episode 35.
This is not financial advice. This is cardboard. Oh, that one got it.
You did it.
They did it. We're done.
35 episodes.
Wrap it, baby.
Series finale tonight.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Oh.
So, Nate, what are we talking about tonight in this episode?
Yeah, I mean, we actually did some investigative journalism. This is a very serious episode, which is something I'm not used to in life, just in general. So we're gonna dive into kind of the summer slump that we're seeing in FAB. We're seeing a lot of decline across the board. I mean, a lot of the alpha, all the way down into even the newer sets, just pretty steady decline all summer long. And we think we've found at least some of the root cause.
Yeah, I would say one issue with, it's I wouldn't say it's the whole, it's definitely not the whole issue. It's something that's helping. It's not helping the situation. I would say that, we've talked about it in the past. This episode is more of a continuation of maybe our retrospective or introspective of the card design. We looked at legendaries a couple weeks back. We looked at set design, right, and kind of did a little bit of an introspective and maybe not so much looking at exact cards to buy and things like we have, in the past on this show. But tonight, yeah, we took a look. We've been noticing this issue with this issue on TCGplayer, actually.
Yeah, I mean, TCGplayer is essentially like any card game's equivalent of like the New York Stock Exchange. Yeah. It's where everyone goes to do all their buying, and it's where all the sellers go to do most of their selling, unless your name's Mel. And then people just come to you and you sell all the cardboard you want. So
yeah, in North America. So obviously, yes. Europe has card markets, and there's obviously, other sites out there that do that. But here in North America, it's kind of the de facto go-to. And I guess I'll just say right off the bat, or start explaining this issue that we found, Nate. And it's basically, let me flip over. So here's two examples that we found recently, right? Soraya, I think, Nate, you found this over the weekend. And then Black Tech Whispers was a card that we found right before we went live. We started recording. So you'll see here that the listings, you have on Soraya, you see a couple listings at $23.30, and then it jumps up to $40. Pretty inconspicuous, just how TCGplayer looks for the most part, other than, you have a couple cards that are quite a bit lower. Same with the Black Tech Whispers here, $39 versus $46. I removed these store names off of these as well, because this is not necessarily a store's fault entirely. This is a integration problem with the point of sale system that they're using, or just I guess it's maybe not even the point of sale system. Let's be fair here. This is just a pure integration problem with TCGplayer. And what it does is
in binder POS.
Binder POS, yes.
We've found in some people that we know of have actually reached out to several stores, because this has been an ongoing issue for quite a while. And we've kind of slowly discovered like the root cause is not root cause. We don't want to place any blame on any one particular store, anybody in particular, but just kind of highlighting the issue of binder POS not integrating properly with TCGplayer, which makes it so sellers can list cards on TCGplayer that are actually not saleable.
Yeah.
So as soon as you go to add cards into your cart, the cards will, and go to checkout, the cards will basically say no longer available for sale.
Yep. So that's the example here, Nate. So the $23.30 card, you added it to your cart. Nate, you found this one yourself. You add it to the card, and you'll get a little warning that says, and you've probably even seen this if you use TCG Player enough, that this instantly it'll come up with a little red flag. It won't let you purchase the cards, and it'll say this is no longer available. Or I believe sometimes it says region locked as well. But anyways, it says it's no longer available. You can't buy it. Then the listing is pulled off of the site, and then it's no longer there. So with that happened here with the Soraya and then the Black Tech, I put the Black Tech into my cart at $39.52. Instantly says it's not available to buy. Go back. Now that second seller at $46. Now Black Tech's back up to $46. So, Nate, why is this a problem when you're with as a whole? Like, again, we're not we can't blame anybody here. If somebody, if TCG Ted wants to sell his Black Techs for $20 to Nate, I should be able to. Any store should be able to. That's fine. But the problem is, I asked you the question, then I'm just going to keep going. Maybe. So what's the problem with TCG Player lows that, at these, Soraya is quite a bit lower, right? We're talking like $17, and then the Black Tech's, almost, $7-8 as well.
So I think there's three problems, and we can touch on all of them. One, this is the scale. Like, not only do people use this for like their own listings, as you can see, I actually purchased the listing right above it. Yeah. So the listing that was unpurchasable was the 2, and there was one person who they probably got a card in maybe on trade, maybe they just opened it. They just wanted to list it real quick. They went to TCG Player, plugged it in. All right, what's TCG Player low? Great, it's $23.29. Maybe they even do the due diligence of opening up the listing to see like, oh, look at that. It is a verified lister. It's not someone who sold one card in their entire life. Mm-hmm. And they say, great, I'm going to match it. So they sold theirs to me at the $23.29. Yeah. The other two instantly evaporated, and the price went right back up to $40. So other sellers are using these low prices from these verified stores to price their inventory.
Another thing, sorry to cut you off here, Nate, but this is a thing that I wanted to add, and maybe you were going here, and I apologize. But the other thing that's interesting, if you've never sold on TCG Player, which I would imagine maybe it's most of our viewers, and I would say there's maybe a fair percentage of you have, but if you haven't, then you probably don't know this, but the TCG Player has actually, it's kind of neat. They have ways to make it very easy to upload cards and price them very quickly, right? Because if you're uploading 500 cards or whatever, you don't want to sit here and type in 2, 3, 2, 9, you know what I mean? You don't want to sit there and type and look through them. So you can just say match TCG low. You can click a button, instantly puts in the price, you hit save, your card's listed. So you don't even have to, like, if you're just like uploading a bunch of cards. And so you can imagine how that's problematic if there's cards that are not, their prices are not being integrated properly from a store's website or, or this point of sale system, because it instantly pulls the price of the card down, right? And that's on TCG Player. But I think, Nate, you were going to start talking about how this influences Flesh and Blood even beyond the website tcgplayer.com.
Yeah, I mean, and then you look at like the other place it's going to influence is the secondary markets. So like TCG Player kind of being the primary market place. So you look at Discord, Facebook. Typically, those are 80% of TCG Player low. So if you literally just go look at TCG Player low, there's a card there.
Yeah, if you do dealings with Hamel, like you had mentioned, Nate, which I have previously, I think, and if you haven't before, what he'll do is say, hey, this list of cards you just asked me for is TCG low 80%. And he will give you that price. Or 95, it depends on the card. Sometimes that percentage fluctuates around, but TCG Player is the market maker for TCGs. They set the price.
It's it's the primary source where people are going to like price check what they have. And when what it, so like even with the Soraya example, you see that like a seller came to the market in good faith, hoping that they could sell their card at a reasonable price, and they listed it at $23. They sold it, but the other sellers who were listed at that price were not able or willing to sell at that price. Um, but the issue then kind of compounds even further with the fact that the inventory actually just goes into a pending status for the sellers. So whenever they go back through and refresh their inventory, it just gets relisted at the same price again.
Mhm.
So it's something that it's kind of like it's like a record like that is like kind of repeating itself,
Yeah.
and it's never going to get out of that loop because of this integration issue. So it's really unfortunate. It's like pretty consistently dragging down, especially the prices of legendaries, like because a lot of TCG player stores and like larger stores who have singles inventory, what they'll do is they'll set their inventory to update maybe every couple of days to like the new TCG player low. But again,
Mhm.
if the cards are not saleable at these TCG player lows, and like you can see with the Black Tech Whispers, they were almost $7. There's more than $7 lower than the next closest store. And I think we can say the next closest store because they would sell their cards, which is Star City Games.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Star City Games was the second lowest, but like if Star City Games goes and then tries to update their inventory, they go to the like that's a big
Yeah.
enough store where that really does start to swing the market where these bigger stores are now trying to match the stores of that aren't selling. But the I think that kind of gets us to the third issue. So it's not only impacting players across the board, it's impacting the value of all of the sets long term, which is making the value of these sets lower, which makes people not want to open these boxes, which makes it harder for LSS to make money because they make money by selling boxes.
Yeah.
Um,
I,
and sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say too, not we are like you said, this is kind of more of a serious, less jovial than maybe we've ever done episode of. But I do want to say that like don't this isn't like doom and gloom. I would say there's like percentage of these listings, and it's not like widespread per se. There's just a number of them that we've found that even though there's it's not like every card you go to buy on TCG Player you're going to click on it and it vaporizes, right?
Yeah.
It's not that, right? Let's be fair here. But a couple of these add up, right? And I mean, you instantly bring down Soraya down to $23. It's like, man, that's a huge jump down, right? And like you said, that affects EVs of sets, that affected the EV of Dynasty 100%.
The issue is that
So
FAB is still growing. So Magic, Pokemon, these listings probably would get cleared out like by the hour they get listed.
yeah,
Flesh and Blood is not seeing the type of sell through rate on cards like this that this gets caught, scooped up, moved on, and no one's affected. It's it's gonna be a slow burn down because
yeah,
especially for the legendaries, maybe 2 copies sell in a day.
yeah,
Like if that. And maybe they might go 2 days without even a sale, and then maybe 3 days later 5 copies sell. But the damage has already been done because enough listings have then moved down on like let's say like Black Tech that the damage is done. And like
yeah,
Soraya is the same thing. I bought that card. That was probably a week or so ago. So I've already gotten my copy. But the price
yeah.
has already moved back down because the same store, kind of that continuous loop, got relisted, brought the price back down.
Hmm.
And while it's really nice to have cheap cards, it is very dangerous for the game long term to not have a strong secondary market. And this is something that it's concerning because I would be concerned if this was happening to any smaller game because the secondary market drives new set sales.
Hmm.
Um, and that's how they make money. This is a as it turns out, a capitalistic society in which we live.
Yep.
Um, and the hobby is expensive.
Yeah, and again, where I think I said this previously, but if any one of these stores wants to sell their card for $20 and the next listing's $40, then more power to you. If you want to sign up for TCG Player and sell your cards for $5 cheaper than the lowest, then yeah, that's fine. We're not saying there's any like, hey, don't sell cards too cheap. It's definitely not that. It's more or less just just how the system works. And since I think both Nate and we've been pretty open about this since we started this podcast, that we're a little bit of grinders, right? So we're kind of on there daily looking at card prices. We both have a TCG Player account, right? And we're always trying to hey, what's the next deal? And even for this podcast, we have to do that, right? And so when you're like, hey man, Black Tech, this is like $6 cheaper than the next, or like the Soraya one was the alarming one, right? You jump on that and you're like, whoa, that's cheap. I'm going to buy these because I think it's going to go up. Maybe a Prism gets better, so on and so forth. But then it just disappears and you're like, oh man, it's actually $40 still, realistically, and that's kind of, yeah, that's the issue, right? Is that, and if, like you said, the sell-through rate isn't high enough for a number of reasons. Right now, we had mentioned, and even in episodes past and at the start of this episode, we are seeing this like summer slowdown. I've talked to other players of other TCGs. They've mentioned that this kind of just happens, right? The summer in the States kind of just slows people down. You're outside doing stuff. I mean, hell, I built a pizza oven. I ain't playing cards. I gotta build, you know what I mean? There's all kinds of different outside factors, right? That kind of even have pushed me away from FAB. So I believe it. So yeah, that's one influence, but then I think this influence is not, I wouldn't even say maybe substantial, definitely in these cases, right? But I think maybe as a whole it's not, like, again, it's not every card, but some key cards, like you said, legendaries, I think are like the ones that kind of key in on this. And if they sit there, like no one's playing Black Tech right now, or you know what I mean? Uzuri is kind of a lower tier deck. It's not A tier, S tier. It may be a B tier deck. So these Black Techs sit there, and then other stores have to come down to meet it because they want to sell Flesh and Blood cards, right? That's why they're doing it. So when that happens, then the price kind of gets set, and it takes a little bit for that price to move again, right? It takes Uzuri to maybe win something or show up on stream a couple times. Then that price can get bumped back up to that 46. But once it gets set to 30 or 40 or whatever the price of the card is, doesn't matter. It kind of just sits there, and it might have got set due to one of these like vaporware postings, unfortunately.
And I think that, well, I disagree with the fact that like it's not a big deal, because like if you think about like if people who buy collections and resell, like stores themselves who are taking in collection, they're pricing these cards. Let's say they took in a collection last week, they priced it at the 46 mark. Usually you're getting, if you're selling in bulk to a seller, you're looking at maybe getting 60% of the value of what TCG low is.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at Black Tech Whispers, that's $7 difference on a $46 card. That's already 15%.
Yeah.
Like that's a big move for someone who buys a collection for maybe 65% of the value, and you lose 15% because someone's not willing to sell. Soraya is $17 on what was a $40 card. Like that's a big decline.
Yeah.
And the summer slump is obviously going to be a thing, and this has definitely contributed to it. And I
guess when you say someone, I just we had a long discussion before making this video, and like I just want to make sure that when we say someone, right, again, this is an integration issue. This is an IT issue with TCG Player, right?
Yes.
It's not me personally, but I have, we have people that we know, I guess friends, I'll say, that are reaching out to some of these stores and asking them, "Hey, what's going on?" And they've said they know about this issue, and they're trying to fix it with TCG Player IT.
Yes.
So, I mean, I guess Nate, so to kind of put a bow on this, or we can talk about this for hours. I feel like we could go on and on about this, but to kind of to start wrapping it up, I would say, if you see this issue pop in, right, it's very innocuous, or very not, that's not the right word, but it's very easy to click on it and be like, oh, I need black text, $39, and then it goes into you go to your cart, go to checkout, and it disappears. It's very easy just to go click to the next one and be like, okay, well, I guess it's 46. I don't know what happened there. But really, to help, I guess, to call to arms for the FAB community is, if you do see this, maybe try to reach out to the store and say, hey, I saw this issue. Do you know that this is happening? And maybe just even let the store know, right?
Yep.
And then, again, I think, unfortunately, it might not even be within the realm of the store's control, other than switching to another point of sale, which can be very difficult. I understand. I'm not even suggesting that to a store, because I don't know what goes into that. I'm sure they paid money. It's a whole thing. But really, TCG Player IT needs to get this fixed. I think this lays on. I'm confident to lay this on the doorstep of TCG Player.
Yep.
And I think the more stores that reach out to them and tell them that this is a problem, the faster they'll try to fix this.
I think the same thing is like with the consumers. Like, if we, like, when you see this issue, just email TCG Player. Hey,
yeah,
like,
true. Yeah.
try to buy a cart. I understand this probably is a binder POS issue. Like, please resolve it, because it's like it
Frustrating.
doesn't
Yeah.
work. Yeah. We don't want to light anybody on fire. Which
Mhm.
Ted told me I couldn't do, unfortunately. But like, again, like, if this is a local store to you, maybe like you notice, hey, this is actually one of my local stores. Go
Yeah.
talk to the owner, talk to some of the workers there, see if like you can help expedite the issue, or like help resolve it.
Just make them
Um,
aware, right? Because I
Make 'em
think,
aware, yeah,
that was the point I was trying to make with, like, how TCG Player works, at least from like a seller side like me. I don't have points of sale systems or anything like that, but you can just click buttons and set prices instantaneously, change prices instantaneously. And like you said, there's probably a system that has like updating prices for stores so they don't get caught by a buyout or something, right? So if they just don't see, if a store just doesn't see this happening and it just keeps relisting it for the lower price and it disappears, they might not even know it's happening, right? They're just like, oh, this card's just sitting there. So
yep,
letting a store know if you can reach them is a good idea. But then again, I think really it should just be a TCG Player
yep,
feedback, right? And I think we all have to kind of do our part to tell TCG Player about it, right? So
yes,
unfortunately, Flesh and Blood is still the little guy, um, and that's one of the unfortunate side effects of that right now, is that this issue is happening, and it's affecting us in bigger ways than it would ever affect Magic, because the turn through rate is so high, right? The turnover rate on cards is so high at TCG Play, all
right,
that stuff. So, but yeah, if
yeah,
you see this, like, I guess our only suggestion, because I'm not an IT guy, we don't work for TCG Player, just let TCG Player know, man. Like, this is
yeah.
happening.
The more they hear about it, the more they're probably going to put resources towards actually fixing it. So,
Yep, for sure.
um, yeah, it's just, and if it's a store that you recognize or know, let them know what's happening.
Yep.
And then hopefully they can also put that bug in TCG Player's ear to get it resolved. I know that the guy that I do mass box opening with, he's contacted a couple stores, and they're like, yeah, we're working with TCG Player to try to resolve the issue. So like, the more stores that we get to try to resolve this issue, the better.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Nate. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it on that topic.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's good to bring this to light. Hopefully, is the more people that are aware of this issue and how it can affect the market and affect the game that we all love. It can help fix the issue quicker for us. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for the subscriptions. Please leave a like. It does help. We'll be at Nats. And yeah, come say hi. Love to
We're
hear
going to
from
teach
you.
head craps in Vegas.
Yeah, I'm excited for craps.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Yeah. All right, everybody. That's going to do it. Peace.
Peace.